The laughter erupted like a thunderclap across the Thanksgiving table, slicing through the clatter of silverware and the hum of family chatter. My mother's voice, sharp and unfiltered, boomed out, "You'll never own a home like your sisters, face it. You're destined to scrape by forever." The room froze. Forks hovered midair. My aunt averted her eyes, pretending to study the cranberry sauce. My cousin, little Jamie, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. And there sat Elena, my older sister by 4 years, with that smug curl to her lips, as if Mom had just recited gospel truth. Elena leaned in, her tone casual but laced with venom. "She's right. You know, no real drive. No stability, just dreams that don't pay the bills." I didn't snap back. Didn't defend the late nights I'd poured into my graphic design gigs. I just nodded, forcing a thin smile that they mistook for surrender. But inside, something coiled tight, a quiet storm brewing in the silence they never noticed. They thought they'd finally broken me, stamped me as the family failure. Oh, how wrong they were. Weeks later, their sleek SUV would crunch up my gravel driveway, uninvited, their frantic calls lighting up my phone like fireworks. I'd stand behind the stained glass door of the house they swore I'd never afford, typing out a message that severed the invisible chains. "Leave now. You're not welcome." But to understand that moment, we have to rewind. Peel back the layers of a family built on illusions of perfection and the slow poison of conditional love. Growing up in our tidy suburban home in upstate New York, success wasn't a suggestion, it was a commandment etched in stone by my mother, Lydia. She measured life in milestones, Ivy League degrees, corner offices, sprawling lawns and gated communities. Elena embodied it all. The golden child who'd ticked every box. Straight A's in business school. A high-powered marketing exec job at a Fortune 500 firm. Married to a banker named Tom who fit the mold like a custom suit. Mom paraded Elena's wins like trophies, promotions announced at every barbecue. Vacation photos framed on the mantle. Her McMansion in the ritzy hills praised as what real ambition looks like. And me? I was Sophia, the shadow in the corner, the one who dared to color outside the lines. While Elena buried herself in spreadsheets, I lost myself in digital canvases, sketching logos and building websites that made small businesses thrive. Mom called it hobby nonsense, shaking her head like I'd chosen poverty on purpose. "Why chase instability when you could have security?" she'd sigh, her disappointment hanging in the air like smoke. Family dinners turned into interrogations. "When are you getting a real job, Sophia? Something with benefits. Not this freelance gamble." Elena would chime in with her pitying glances, whispering to Mom loud enough for me to hear, "She's too stubborn, prefers struggle over sense." I absorbed it all, the barbs embedding deep, twisting my self-doubt into knots. But I kept going. Not for them, but because creating felt like breathing essential, even if it left me gasping for air some nights. Those wounds festered quietly, like roots cracking concrete beneath the surface. I'd come home to my cramped Brooklyn studio after a grueling day at the design agency, collapse onto the worn couch, and stare at the ceiling, replaying their words. No ambition. Destined to fail. It wasn't just criticism, it was erasure. As if my passions didn't count because they didn't shine under their spotlight. I tried bridging the gap, sharing client wins over coffee, inviting them to my first solo exhibit. But Mom dismissed it. "Cute. But when will you grow up?" Elena rolled her eyes. "Art's fine as a side thing. But life's not a canvas." The betrayal stung deepest because it came wrapped in love, or what they called love. Conditional. Performative. Always with strings attached. I started pulling away. Small at first, skipping Sunday brunches, delaying responses to texts. But that Thanksgiving? It was the spark that ignited the fuse. As Mom's laugh echoed, mocking my modest apartment tweaks I'd proudly described, something inside me snapped, not outwardly, but in the recesses where resolve hardens. Elena's smirk sealed it. A silent alliance against the lesser sister. Driving back to the city that night, rain slicking the highways, their voices looped in my mind. But instead of tears, clarity washed over me. I wasn't the failure they painted, I was the one they'd underestimated. And in that realization, revenge took root, not flashy vengeance, but the cold, calculated kind born from years of swallowed pain. The shift was subtle at first, a whisper of defiance in my daily grind. I dove deeper into my work, no longer apologizing for my path. Mornings at the agency blurred into evenings freelancing for indie brands, craft breweries needing bold labels, nonprofits craving impactful visuals. I raised my rates without apology, weeded out toxic clients, built a portfolio that spoke for itself. Savings grew, not in flashy splurges, but in a nest egg tucked away like a secret weapon. I stopped updating the family group chat, letting their assumptions fill the void. Mom's messages turned probing. Everything okay? You seem distant. Elena posted her latest luxuries, European getaways, designer kitchen renos, tagging Mom with hearts, as if to remind me of my place. But their world felt distant now. A stage play I no longer auditioned for. The psychological toll lingered, though nights when doubt crept in, whispering that maybe they were right. I'd pace my studio, heart pounding, questioning every choice. Was freedom worth the isolation? The answer came in waves, yes. Because their love had cost me pieces of myself I'd never get back. I sought therapy quietly, unpacking the layers of familial gaslighting, learning that silence wasn't weakness, it was armor. And as my bank account swelled, so did my plans. Each deposit a brick in the wall of independence. Then came the call that cracked my world open wider. My financial advisor, a no-nonsense guy named Marcus with a Brooklyn accent thick as fog, reviewed my books over Zoom. Sophia, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. Time to think bigger. Investments. Property. His words landed like permission slips from the universe. No judgment. Just facts. It contrasted so sharply with Mom's disdain, Elena's condescension, that I nearly wept. That evening, alone in my studio with takeout Thai cooling on the desk, I scrolled real estate sites, not for show, but for real. Suburbs blurred into city edges, until one listing halted my breath, a Queen and Victorian in Willow Creek. The upscale enclave Mom idolized, driving us through as kids to gawk at what winners live like. Towering gables, intricate trim, a garden begging for revival. It called to me, not as a trophy, but as a canvas for healing. I reached out to the agent, Ms. Harper, a warm woman in her 60s with laugh lines and a firm handshake. She toured me through, asking not about income but vision. What does home mean to you? I confessed, a place where I can rebuild. Away from expectations. She nodded, sensing the undercurrent. The seller, an elderly widow named Evelyn, met me in the sunlit parlor. Her eyes, faded blue but piercing, searched mine. Will you honor its spirit? She asked softly. Yes, I replied, voice steady. It's waited for someone like me. The deal closed in a whirlwind. Offers, appraisals, closing costs I'd scrimped for. Keys in hand. I didn't broadcast it. This victory was mine, untainted by their skepticism. Renovations became my therapy, each hammer strike exorcising old hurts. I balanced client deadlines with contractor calls, choosing reclaimed wood floors that echoed my resilience. painting walls in hues that soothed the soul. Late nights sanding banisters. I reflected on the cost. Friendships faded from exhaustion. Relationships stalled because trust came hard after familial betrayal. But the house transformed, parlors glowing with natural light. A tower study where ideas flowed freely. Moving day arrived under crisp autumn skies. I unpacked alone. Shelves filling with design books. Walls adorned with my prints. Standing on the porch as dusk fell. Fireflies dancing. Peace settled like a long-lost friend. The emotional weight lifted. But scars remained, trust issues that made vulnerability a risk. A lingering ache for the family that could have been. Yet, this was my reclaiming. A quiet rebellion against the narrative they'd scripted for me. The confrontation brewed inevitably. Whispers reached them through mutual friends. Sophia's bought in Willow Creek. Impossible. Mom's call came first. Voice laced with disbelief. Elena mentioned rumors. A house? There. I confirmed coolly, yes. In Willow Creek. Silence stretched. Thick with her unraveling worldview. Send the address. We're coming over. Entitlement dripped from her words, as if my success was theirs to inspect. I obliged. Curiosity mingling with resolve. No preparations, the house stood as is. A testament to my grit. Their arrival shattered the calm, tires on gravel. Doors slamming. Through the frosted glass. I watched their shadows, Mom pacing. Elena knocking sharply. Sophia, open up, this is absurd. Mom barked. Calls flooded my phone. Texts demanding entry. The frenzy built. Their composure cracking as rejection sank in. This wasn't just a visit, it was their attempt to reclaim control. To diminish what I'd built. But standing in my foyer, light dappling the floors I'd restored, I felt untouchable. The psychological reversal hit hard them on the outside. Begging. While I held the power. I texted back, leave now. You're not welcome. Watching their faces crumple, confusion to fury to defeat, stirred a mix of vindication and sorrow. The price of this revenge? A fractured family. But one I'd outgrown. They drove off. Taillights fading. Leaving me in silence that hummed with freedom. In the aftermath, the void echoed with unexpected echoes. No more barbs, but also no forced gatherings. Elena emailed days later. Vulnerability bleeding through. I've hidden behind Mom's expectations. Wrong marriage. Soul-crushing job. Your silence showed me the cage I'm in. I'm scared, but inspired. Mom's note followed. Raw, my guidance was control. I see now how it hurt. Sorry. The apologies landed heavy, stirring old wounds. Forgiveness? Not instant. Trauma doesn't dissolve overnight. I replied measuredly, we start fresh. With respect for boundaries. It wasn't a fairy tale reunion, but a tentative bridge over the chasm of betrayal. The cost lingered, guarded hearts, lost years. Yet, in my Victorian haven, surrounded by creations born of pain, I found worth independent of them. Revenge wasn't destruction, it was reconstruction. Proving that silence can roar louder than laughter ever could.